Dun, 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 dun. Hello and welcome back. Some
Hello, everybody.
difficulties have been overcome, and we're all ready to go now. JCM Byrne, how you doing tonight?
I'm all right. You know what? Give me 1 second. Let me turn down my air conditioning.
Fantastic. All right, boys and girls, we are going to be enjoying the official drink of summer, and we're going to make it for you now. Job number one.
Sorry about that.
You take the delicious 7-Up, the least preferred flavor of all sodas. Listen to that.
Nice.
And then you... And then, because all of us are secretly 10 years old, granted,
Wow, very nice.
pop in a little bit of grenadine. And then when you're done with that, you've got yourself a Shirley Temple.
Oh, that's beautiful. Very nice. So this is a very low-end cocktail. I have Diet Ginger Ale and Jameson. Just whatever comes in the huge jug of Jameson you can get, where it's like a gallon of Jameson for like $50.
Yeah.
And you pour in about a shot and a half into a cup, bunch of ice, some Diet Ginger Ale, and you have yourself a low-calorie cocktail that'll knock you on your ass if you have several of them. Ask how I know.
How do you know, Joe?
I don't remember. Which tells you how good the cocktails are. It's actually like pretty tasty, but it's not pretty like that one. That's almost as pretty as like an Aperol Spritz.
Right, except it's completely alcohol free because I have to do audiobook recording tonight, and you can't drink before doing an audiobook.
I believe you. That sounds like one more reason for me not to do audiobooks.
Amen, brother. It's a pain in the neck. Hey,
Yeah.
speaking of pain in the neck, I want to talk about you.
Okay. There's a segue. There's an Andy segue.
So for those of you who don't know, JCM Byrne is the magnificent and spectacular author of Wistful Ascending, as featured here. And
Nice.
Joe was recently given the shaft, as far as I'm concerned. And
Was I?
I want to talk to you about that a little bit. And
Which shaft? There are many areas in my life where I can be shafted. I'm not sure which one.
Taken lately.
Are you talking about Spiffbox?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Angry Wuxia Mom because, correct me if I'm wrong, Angry Wuxia Mom was kind of written for Spiffbox.
Yeah. Oh no, not kind of. I literally wrote that book there's a few ways to look at it. I mean, from my perspective, I wrote that book to enter in Spiffbox. Like, I literally, Wistful Ascending got bounced, and I thought if I had something with a catchier pitch and that was more strictly a fantasy, I would do better in Spiffbox. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that was, and then I got the idea for the story, and I literally wrote it to enter in Spiff Bowl in one of the contests, right? It was 9 or 10. Didn't get it ready in time for 9, which was totally fine. That's really why I wrote the book. I mean, it was not like 2 weeks before I started writing it. I had no intention of writing a fantasy novel, right? Then I got the idea, and then I really jumped on it. And I don't know how. I'm not saying it would have done well in the contest. You'd never know. I mean, I'd like to think it would have. Some people really liked it, so you never know, right? But everything's. And then you want me to tell the Spiffbox story, the coin toss?
Please do, because
okay.
I was thinking about it last week when everything. Hey Donna, everything kind of happened, and I really felt for you because I feel like if that were me, that would feel like a cold fist in the stomach.
Yeah,
you don't feel too equally terrible about it.
I felt bad. I don't know that they did the wrong thing though, so I can't wholeheartedly complain. So the deal is, it was getting harder and harder to get into Spiffbo because, in the first year they couldn't get 300 books because Spiffbo was a huge indie contest. It's limited to 300 entries, which is reasonable. There's only so many judges, only so many teams. It got to the point where, like, last year, Spiffbo 9, they filled in something like 42 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was quickly, it seemed to be approaching a point very soon where you were going to have to get lucky with the internet. It's like getting Taylor Swift tickets. Yeah. You'd have to click on refresh on the form at 9 on the dot.
Right.
It was 9, like it was 8 Eastern time or something. I forget.
It's like getting on a Southwest flight. It's like
yeah. And Mark, to avoid that, made a call, and not a universally appreciated call. Let's put it that way.
I don't think there was any way to make a call that would be universally appreciated, but yeah.
Okay, here's the other part of it. If I could think of the right way to handle this dilemma, I would be angrier, right? Like if I had an alternative that was like, if you had just done X, Y, and Z, you would have been more fair and it would have worked well for everybody. I can't think of the right way.
My only thought was to have the first chapter of every book read. And for people to rank the first chapter of the book so that at least you got an idea of whether the writing style was worth considering or not.
Do a screen.
There's tons of junk in there.
Do a screen. And there are other contests that work like that. And sometimes people feel that those are unfair in a different way because not all books have strong first chapters, but some books do better later. Right. So there's no perfect way to do it without unlimited resources on the side of the judging team, who are, by the way, there's no entry fee.
They're volunteers.
They're volunteers. So I was upset because I really wanted to be part of the contest. I really thought it was going to be fun.
Yeah.
And I thought I had a good chance of making some waves, and I thought it was going to be fun. And I was always planning to market Partial Function more once the contest started and kind of hook on to that. Clearly that's not happening. I had to figure out a plan B. So I was, disappointed. Other big names got the axe with the coin toss. Mike Fletcher, Tori Tekken, both didn't make the coin toss. It hurts in a way, like it's not, and I'd rather have gotten cut from a first chapter read in a way, because like the coin toss really is totally arbitrary, and a lot. I know a lot of other writers felt that, let's reward the people who can set an alarm and care enough to get up on time, even if it's the middle of the night in their time zone, and get there in the first few minutes. Which, I mean, I'm sure my book was in there by, I think, 8:06, and it would have been earlier if I'd really cared. I knew it didn't matter, right? So. Yeah, it was. I was disappointed. That's it. Like, I don't know what else. I was disappointed. I wish something had been different about it, but I don't know what. I mean, I can think of like a dozen different ways to handle it, but they all have their own
drawbacks.
Yeah. Like an entry fee. Charge $50 to get into the contest. That'll knock out a bunch of people. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. Like,
probably not.
There's a part of me that likes that idea, but I'm not arguing for it. I'm not saying it's like definitely the way to go. It's probably the wrong way. Some people suggested expanding the judging panels.
Or to wrangle.
Yeah, I mean, you could add, if you doubled the number of judges, you could have all 600 books in the contest. Mm-hmm. More or less. And that would be more work for all the judges because there would presumably be 20 finalists,
right,
instead of 10. And that's not necessarily fair to say you've got to read your 30 books and then 20 finalists. It's already a lot, and they're not getting paid. So, yeah. I was, that's life though. Sometimes you're disappointed, but you're like, it's fair that I lost. It's not unfair. I'm not mad at Mark Lawrence. The opposite, right? He's doing a mitzvah for the community, hosting the contest. It's a huge amount of publicity for the guys who are still in it, So yeah, I wish I had a more coherent sort of response.
I just want you to know that I really, really felt for you in that moment.
Thank you.
Because I recognized that, like, this is what the book was for, and to have that rug yanked out from under you, feels just, I don't want to say dickish, because nobody was a dick about it, but it just feels like the universe gave you a punch to the face that you didn't deserve.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm very happy to see you with such a positive attitude and kind of a reasonable response to it and all that kind of stuff. Because if I were you, I think I would have lost my mind for 3 or 4 days.
I was unhappy for a bit. I don't know how long. Part of it was probably easier because I wrote it a while ago. So I had a year because I didn't make it. It was almost ready for Spitball 9. So I had a whole year of like not really focusing on that because it was so, always in the future. And then, I don't know.
Well, just to make up for it, we're saying, please go and buy Partial Function. Get yourself a copy of it and read it. And while we're at it, I'm just going to put this back up there again.
Oh, thank you.
Because you need to go and buy Wistful Ascent.
Yeah. That's
just in case you haven't discovered the secret yet, go ahead and get that taken care of. Toot sweet.
That book is still selling, I must say. And book 5 should be coming out in a couple months. I have the last set of line edits to make and then get my cover, hopefully in July. So we're getting closer.
Yeah, and the book was mostly ready to go. The cover is the real delay at this point.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes, I am.
Oh, yeah. The book would have been ready by now if I had the cover, but I knew the cover's not coming, so I've been like really lazy about the final round of edits. Mm-hmm. So it's back from my line editor. We do 2 rounds. So the 1 round is done. So as soon as I get the other round done, I'll give it to her. She'll give it back to me in like 2 weeks. I have one of those editors she's like a clock, which is not true of all editors in the industry. But if she says like this will be
wait. Don't
no,
come here.
Not getting on screen.
Oh, no. My wife won't get on screen because she's bringing me chocolate chip cookies.
Nice.
Thank you, Gloria.
I love you.
I love you too. We love you, Joe.
No, thank you. My dad had a shed in his backyard of his parents' house when he was young, and he had a reel-to-reel movie projector in the shed, and he and his friends would get together and watch porn on the reel-to-reel projector, and his mom would come out and knock on the door to the I have milk and cookies for you boys.
Okay, hang on, let us get our pants up.
It's kind of a funny story from your dad, but he told me that story when I was I don't know, probably not little, probably in my teens or 20s or something, but
hopefully not little.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not an appropriate story for your 5-year-old, but it's kind of funny. Enjoy the cookie; those look great.
Here's a cookie for you.
Yeah, thank you. So, how are you going with the trilogy? Are you trying to release the audio at the same time the book comes out?
Oh, always. So you know that thing that nobody ever thinks about when it comes to writing a book, which is everything, right? Everybody thinks you just write a book and then you release it. Like all the details that go along with the cover, and then the cover needing to be the exact measurement for the person that's printing the book. And it's different for different people that are printing different books, and what the page weight is. And the ebook needs to be formatted, and it needs to be done correctly. And if you're weird like me, there's this particular way you need to do it. So,
do you have interior art? Huh? Do you have interior art like you did with
Oh God, no, dude.
Oh, okay.
That was one of the worst decisions I ever made.
Well, it's a complicating factor.
It's an
big time
expensive factor.
Yeah, well, that's it.
And what I found out is that the art doesn't really help make more sales, right? It's a nice thing to have, but nobody's like, oh, you got to read this because the art's real pretty in it.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, well, I don't think I want to spend that money ever again.
Right.
But I like chapter titles that are their own page and have, art kind of built into the chapter title. And then I've always got it down at the bottom. And then this
Nice.
one parts, so each part has its own art. But right now, I mean, the formatter is still working on it, and they've had it for about a week, and I'm beginning to lose my patience because I want to send it out to the ARC readers, and I can't because I don't have a friggin' product. So that's where I am right now. I'm stuck in the thing that nobody thinks about, when you think about publishing these dumb things, and it's just like, okay, waiting for that to be, and there's nothing you can do. Right?
I do all my formatting on Atticus, and it's in one nice because it's one thing I can really do myself, and it looks good enough. It's not super fancy, but it's solid, and it's easy. So
I think I'm going to try and pick up that skill for now. My problem is, again, I want all chapters to be their own page, and you can't do it with art because if you're on a phone, you wind up with a quote down at the bottom that you can't read. So, but you need to break it up in such a way that it is its own page, no matter what size or format the text is in. So that's the thing that I'm not entirely sure that I can do by myself. And, I don't like being in a position where I give it to the formatter and they've got a week to turn it around. I don't know that that's entirely fair. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. So the rest of the books will be better on that front. But yeah, the audiobook, my job is to have everything recorded by the end of May, and then I'll have the entirety of June to edit it, which is really the hard part. Like the recording the audio part is not.
Yeah, I watched parts. I'm not really an audiobook person, but I did watch some of the stream of the live recording. That's a really cool idea.
Did you really?
That's a really cool idea. I've not seen that. I think it's a really neat idea. It was very cool. If I were more of an audiobook person, I would have really listened, but I don't do audiobooks.
No.
So that's just not my thing.
Yeah,
It was cool.
I didn't think anybody would watch it, and you look up and you got like 54 people watching you screw something up.
Yeah, no, it's how the sausage is made. It's kind of cool.
It's total behind the curtain stuff. So
yeah.
For people,
no, it was a really nice idea. I liked it a lot.
But I think one of the people that listened to it was like, yeah, I was going to sleep and I turned it on. So it made it really easy for me to fall asleep. And then I woke up and the book was still going. I thought, wow, that's neat. I'm like, wow, I'm putting people to sleep. That's awesome.
You put me right out, Andy. Right
to sleep.
That's the dream, right?
The cure for insomnia right there.
There you go. That's hilarious.
Can't you just make a fancy page and image so ebook formatting doesn't mess with that? I've seen it in ebooks. It doesn't work if you want to put text on it, or if you don't want them to touch it and size it up, so that they can take a look at it. You just want them to flip to the page and go, oh, there's a chapter page. There's a quote. Moving on. It's got to be in a text format, so because everybody reads in completely different sizes. So anyway, thanks for asking. How'd you like Golden Son? Uh-oh. Did we lose your audio? We did lose your audio. Can you hear me?
Is that better or worse?
There we go.
Okay. I'm not having all the technical problems. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know how to work the mic or my camera. I left my my trusty webcam in my mother's house. So I've been desperately trying to get the phone to do it. Anyway, it's all good. It's all
go take two. So how'd you like Golden Son? Oh,
I had mixed feelings, and I think I'm running into I like it fine. I don't quite get the amount of hype around it, where it's probably if you look at across YouTube, it's considered one of the, I don't know, roughly top 10 series that people read, right? Everyone's like, oh, it's one of my 5 favorite series, whatever, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you did a poll of an average,
mm-hmm.
and I'm not seeing it, and maybe book 3 will change my mind, but right now I'm not seeing it. And I actually am starting to feel like I wish it had more, and I'm usually a guy who likes the fast pace, but I almost feel like these books I needed more room for it to breathe. Like he's winning the loyalty of these people, but I feel like he's not spending enough time with them for me to see it, for me to buy it. Like these relationships happen, and it's like they don't feel earned. Like they're earned in the sense that stuff happened and it's like months went by. So you can imagine that he earned people's trust, but you didn't read it.
Right.
You know stuff happened that took time. So okay, I'll buy it. Like I felt that way really in part one with his mastery of the razor, the martial art.
Right.
His training,
Lillian line.
I needed 50 pages of him wooing Lorne. I mean, maybe he was right not to do it because it would have been an arc we've seen before. You wait outside the guy's door. You refuse to go away. You get rained on. You pass out. He finally comes out and goes, "All right, I'll show you one move," and you do the one move until your hands bleed. And it's how many movies has that been in, right?
Right.
And maybe that was the point. Maybe he just didn't want to do that because we all know that story already. So why put it in the book? And I get it, but then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I've been secretly mastering this martial art.
Right. Lorne gets helicoptered in
the
story post fact.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, yeah. What you didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So it felt it didn't satisfy me. And then I had one other problem.
Wait, hang on. I feel like that's the quote that should go on the front of the book.
It didn't satisfy me.
Satisfy me, ellipsis, J.C.M. Byrne.
So what were your thoughts on Golden Son? Because
So I liked the second half a lot more than I liked the first half.
Yes, me too.
The first half, I felt, like we talked about, that I just got lost in the relationships and who I was supposed to know and who I didn't know yet, who was new and who was and it was like this character dump thing, right? At the beginning, it felt like there were about 15 to 20 characters that I was expected to pick up on, and it was tough. When we got to the gala, I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is interesting and fun. I like what's going on here. I like that we've gotten all the political subterfuge out of the way, and now we're just going to go for it. And I really liked the introduction to Ragnar, right? I don't know why his text and quotes were in bold. I thought that was weird, other than he's very big, right? But okay, fine. But I like the introduction to that character. I like that relationship with that character. I like that he was honest with him. I loved them. We talked about this, the moment that he became honest with Severo. Right. And it was like, I finally have a brother. And you're shaking your head no? Couldn't care less.
I did it first, and now I don't. I changed my mind at the end.
Ooh. Please elaborate.
He's got so much at stake. He's not doing this for his own benefit. He's doing this to save the Reds in honor of his dead wife, who gave him this mission. He's trying to change society for them. He's not just ambitious, and he risks it all for friendship and horniness. I mean, not I'm talking about two separate instances. Now, him being honest with Ragnar felt like a tactical move.
Yes.
Right? Because he's going to he has a chance to leverage the Obsidians in a way that will serve his mission.
I Am Like You was the background beat of that entire conversation.
Yeah, and that's powerful and useful and practical. But Darrow, who's supposed to be so smart and so calculating and stuff, like, and Severo, if Severo really felt Severo's crap, because if he really felt like at one with this mission, and he knows what Darrow is and what Darrow's trying to do, and he was really buying into it, he should not have tried to force Darrow to spill his guts, because Darrow spilling his guts to Severo is the first step in him spilling his guts to Mustang.
Right.
And that's a path you don't want Darrow on. If Severo was really in and was a true friend and truly understood the stakes, he would have kept his mouth shut and understood that this secret transcends their friendship, and it should transcend their friendship, and leave it alone. And he did seem to know the mission. Like he's on board with the plan.
Right.
You know, to overturn this political structure. If he wants Darrow to overturn this political structure, don't make him admit it. Let him be the cold bastard he needs to be to execute the mission and save society and save all the colors, including the Reds. Save them from themselves, because right, their lives are horrible and shitty, even though they're at the top of the heap.
That was my favorite part of the book, is where you can't go home again.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved those 2 chapters.
Yeah, and him going home, but him telling, I'm kind of glad Mustang didn't just go, "Oh, it's fine, I love you anyway," and jump into his arms, because, right, but like he shouldn't have told her. He shouldn't have told her until the revolution was over. Because he's like, what does this even mean without Mustang? And I wanted to punch him in the face, in his big golden face, when he said that, because what does it mean? It means women like your wife don't get hung anymore. And you're like, "Oh, I'm horny, so I can't risk, I got to tell my girlfriend that I'm a secret agent." No, dude, you don't. You shouldn't have. So here's the thing. So,
well, Joe, no man in the world has ever had sex with a woman without telling her the entire truth. I don't understand what you're talking about.
How would you? How would you even get it up without being completely honest about your feelings? Everything. So here's the thing. You're always looking at a book, and there's what a character does, and then there's what the author is saying about what the character does. So if Pierce Brown was saying Darrow was being an idiot, and he was fucking up by doing this, and he shouldn't have told Severo, and Severo shouldn't have asked him, and he should have told Mustang, and he should have been on mission, and instead he had this weakness that led him there, I would be okay with that, because people have weaknesses, right? But if it didn't feel like that was the portrayal, it almost felt like the author was saying, "Oh, look, this is how you make allies and win hearts, is by being an honest putz like this." And I'm like, right? And I'm like, no,
So your overall feeling that you're left with is Darrow's a putz.
Darrow's a putz. No, absolutely Darrow's a putz. He's paying for it now, which is good. I don't know if it's satisfying, but I'm kind of glad. I want him to die because he told Mustang, and he shouldn't have told Mustang. He shouldn't have told Severo, but he got away with it. He should have told Ragnar, because that's different.
Yeah.
Because Ragnar's not a gold.
Right. That's an approach.
That's an approach. I liked it. He had no business doing that with Mustang. That just she has shown her loyalty is to her family. She doesn't want the golds overthrown.
So did you get to the chapter with Mustang, and like at that moment you're like, screw this, forget this noise, or did it take a while for it to dig in on you?
I think I was pretty turned off by that scene, but I was enjoying stuff before that. I enjoyed him going home and talking to his mom. I liked that.
Loved it.
I thought that was really well done. I thought it was touching. It was the most touching thing we've seen in a long time in these books.
Well, and touching, and not in the way that you were expecting it to be.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't this blissful homecoming where everybody was like, "Oh, Darrow, we're so happy to see you. Oh, I'm here to save everybody. Oh, I'm going to make all your lives better." It's like, look, life is crap. It's going to continue to be crap. If you're born a red, you're going to be a red the rest of your life. People are not going to come out of their holes and suddenly start living their different lives. We're going to be reds. We're going to be minors. Our children are going to be minors. Our grandchildren are going to be minors. It was crap, Mom.
It was sweet in a sort of. It was sweet, but it made sense in context.
Yeah.
Right. Like because of how harsh his mom's life was, she wasn't going to have a warmer reaction. She had as warm a reaction as she should have had.
Yeah.
right at the edge, which was perfect. I thought it was great. I thought it was well done. I thought his response to going home was great.
Yes.
Totally solid writing. I was good with that. I was not good with him telling Mustang and Severo being like, well, if she betrays us, I'll kill her. And I'm like, this isn't a good. Severo should have just said, look, I know what you are. My dad's Aries. You need to keep your mouth shut, but you can trust that I know what you are and I'm still on your side.
Right.
Like, that would have been the Menchie thing to do. Making Darrow betray his secret identity was, it was more dramatic from a writer perspective, but it was a shitty thing to do, and I think it opened the door to him telling Mustang, which turned out to be a mistake. Which I'm glad it turned out to be a mistake. I think it's a mistake. Right? It seems like a mistake, right? It seems like that's how Rope knew, right? Somehow.
Thinks that's what it felt like, although I don't know. I've got a feeling that she's going to be flying in on some jet boots, in the third book and pulling his ass out of the fire.
Yeah. So Mustang may end up not being the loophole, and it may. So there's like two ways looking at a mistake, right? There's the mistakes you make where you do the wrong thing, but it turns out well, and there's the time where you do the thing that you shouldn't have done based on what you knew at the time, but it ends up being okay.
Mm-hmm.
So him telling Severo was like that.
Right. Well,
and
I did like that reveal because I like the way that Severo forced him.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, if you don't tell me the truth now, I'm walking away and I'm never coming back.
Yeah, but I mean, Darrow may have done the right thing from his perspective there. I still think Severo shouldn't have made him. Like, what are you trying to prove, buddy? You're trying to prove that your friendship means more to him than the cause. I'm not sure it should. I'm not sure the friendship.
I think you're right, though. I feel like the point Brown may be trying to make is about the nature of friendship more so than the nature of the revolt.
Yeah. Yeah, he's trying to talk about the value of friendship and stuff, and I'm like, this is more his cause is bigger than friendship. If it was about his personal ambition, that'd be very different to me.
Right.
If he was trying to be king of the Golds because he wanted to be a king, and he was finding that he's willing to risk that for his friends.
That's a different kettle of fish.
I'm on board with that. That's a normal thing to happen to people in life. But he's risking this chance for justice for an entire society that he knows deeply and intimately is unjust, and he's risking that for his friendship. I don't like that.
No me gusto.
No me gusto. So that was so I have a sort of a philosophical problem with the second half, which is not to say it wasn't. Like I said, there were some good parts in it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the battle sequence. I love the giant scale being launched into the planet and going past all the starfighter stuff and hitting the ground and having a big fight there and then working your way in. And then Darrow finally goes over the fence alone. I thought that was great.
Like sort of semi superhuman people in armor getting shot down to a planet. It reminds me of there was a scene like that in like Riddick. Do you remember Chronicles of Riddick?
Oh yeah.
And like
a large part of Rooker Flynn is based on Pitch Black.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Pitch Black.
There are two movies in my life that I've turned around and walked back into the theater: Shawshank and Pitch Black.
Really?
I love Pitch Black.
No. I'm with you. I think it was fantastic. I even like Chronicles of Riddick, and I would have been happy to see more. It wasn't as good as Pitch Black, but Pitch Black was an excellent movie. When I saw Pitch Black, I thought it was going to be kind of like a cruddy sci-fi movie of the week thing, and I was watching. I'm like, this is good. Like, this is good stuff.
Yet another piece of crap with David Keith, right? It was like, and I love David Keith. I want to be clear. I have a friend of mine who's married to him, so I love David Keith.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
But he always does these sci-fi movies, and he's always the black guy that gets killed first, right? That's his job.
Yeah.
And that movie should have been crap. And
Yeah,
every
yeah.
single bit of that movie was on point. It was so damn good. But I
Made me
love
a Vin Diesel fan.
of the sun
I thought-
goes down and things change. I love that.
Great, it was a really good movie.
Yeah. So
But,
anyway, sorry. People being launched from the starships, so it feels like Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah, I love those scenes. I love the Starship Troopers did that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe first. I don't know if it's first, but it's the first I remember, or the oldest piece of media where I encountered it. Because that's from like the 60s, I think.
Just dump everybody into the middle of the battlefield and let's go.
Like you're in powered armor, you get launched out of a ship, you're cracking through atmosphere, you're vomiting, you land, these meteor, basically looks like a meteor shower, and these guys get up and they're like, dust themselves off, start shooting people. I mean, there's a reason I write about a guy who flies from a ship, lands on the ground, and like starts punching people, right? Like,
let's take care of some kaiju.
Yeah. So there's not an accident that that I use that, but the battle scenes were really nice. The arming the obsidians with the razors.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a sweet move. These are more of these doing things that are hard to justify to other goals, but you can see the seeds of the bigger thing he's planning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's good stuff. I mean, that's you want to change a society, you've got to start doing shit like that.
Well, and I thought they did a good job at the end of kind of listing all the things that he'd done that had crossed the line.
Yeah.
Like you gave razors to the obsidians, you gave a ship to a blue.
Right. And
you did this. How
Augustus?
Huh?
Was it Augustus telling him, talking him down?
At the end, yeah. I think
Yeah.
at the end. So,
yeah.
But one of the thing that I want to do real quick is, because I really did enjoy all the battle sequences, but I need to do this verbatim. So I say, after about chapter 40, so at this point in the story, he has to be betrayed by Roke, right? Their relationship has been built on a foundation of sand the entire book. Darrow hasn't told him the truth even once. If I'm Roke, I feel like a pawn, not a partner. And at some point, there has to be a break. To which Joe responds, I don't know. It makes more sense for Roke to stay loyal and betrayal to come from somewhere else, to teach Darrow a lesson about true friendship or something. Like, if it's Roke, we all, even Darrow, saw it coming. And I gotta tell you, man, that moment sucked for me because I thought you were right.
Here's the thing. Roke didn't betray him for the reasons we thought. We thought Roke would betray him because he'd been kept out of the loop and been and given the cold shoulder, but he didn't. Roke didn't really, but Roke betrayed him because he's a Red.
Yeah,
which he didn't find out because of anything Darrow did deliberately, as far as we know. So it didn't bother me as much as it could have. If Roke had just been like,
both of us,
yeah. If Roke had just been like, "Oh, I'm pissed, I'm not in your inner circle," right? Yeah.
She's reading our comments as we go along, and she's like,
"Yeah." Well, I said what I said. I'll own it. I was wrong, but Roke betraying them made sense given that Roke knew he was a Red, and that effectively he betrayed Roke and everyone else first. He's not a Gold, right? He's lied to them all.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think any of them owe him anything. From their perspective, he's the traitor. So I don't have hard feelings towards Roke. If Roke had betrayed him just because he wasn't in the inner circle and he wasn't told enough and he was being a whiny, if he was just being a whiny bitch like that, that's not as. That would have annoyed me in exactly the way I described. Right, we would have all seen it coming. But instead, Roke really did it because you're a Red, so I don't owe you anything because our whole relationship is based on a lie. I'm like, I was okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't bother me as much. It wasn't fun. I mean, I don't know. And I was surprised the book ended on a down note. I guess it's a middle book.
It's a middle book.
I guess that's normal. I don't think I read enough trilogies, or I don't think about them enough because I've never written one. Like the Hybrid Helix is standalone, so I don't really think about the classic like trilogy structure. I don't study it. I don't think about it.
Well,
You do.
it's kind of the same thing as a normal book. Like Act 1, you have the initiating incident, something happens, and then you get to the end of Act 1 where there's some kind of resolution, but the stakes have gone and things have changed.
Yeah.
And then you got Act 2, which is divided up into 2 parts, and you're supposed to have a kind of a midpoint in the center, kind of everybody around the campfire type of scene. But whatever happens in your second act, this is the meat of the story. But the second act ends with the worst thing that can possibly happen. And I feel like that's what he did with this, with the end of the second book, is the worst possible thing that could happen.
I mean, half of them are dead. They're all captured. Mustang's free. I guess Severo's free. I can't remember.
Yeah. And I really liked, oh, here's Fitchner's head.
I still am. Okay. Do you remember when I said early, the Empire Strikes Back moment? Right. Han Solo's in carbonite, and yeah.
Everything's screwed up. Luke's hand is gone. Vader's his father. Oh, sorry, spoilers.
Yeah. I still want to know if Fitchner deliberately let Darrow knock him unconscious and take his grab boots during that first test in book 1. Because he hasn't said, now he's dead. I guess we'll never know. But I always thought that made sense.
Oh, we're getting, we're gonna get some hologram recording later on of Fitchner, right?
Maybe. But I mean, I don't know if he's going to explain that particular detail. I don't know if that's relevant. But I didn't see him being Ares. I don't know how I missed that.
I thought he did a good job of masking it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I completely bought into it when he said it was him. Because he had been building Fitchner's character for a while, right? We've been spending time with Fitchner in kind of a weirdly sympathetic role for an old asshole.
No, it was a good reveal. It felt reasonable, but I didn't guess it.
Right.
It was in that they did it. Like, I don't know if it felt inevitable, but it certainly felt earned. Right, there was enough clues that Fitchner wasn't exactly what he seemed to be.
Okay.
For me to buy it.
So, did you read Hunger Games?
No.
Okay. So the first book of Hunger Games was really cool. And it was this whole kind of world that she created and this environment where children kill each other for sport and the amusement of everyone else.
I'm on board.
Yeah, that's a pretty good hook.
You can always make more.
So with the second book, it was, I didn't realize that this would be as popular as it is. I'm going to do the exact same thing again with different characters and a different map and a different board. Oh, wait, I need an ending. And at the end, we're all going to rise up and revolt against the bad guys that are making this whole thing happen. Okay, cool. You kind of bought it in at the end. So I kind of enjoyed the second book. And then the third book was this epic nightmare of miserableness and depression and suicide that was just like, why am I here? So the thing I come out of Golden Sun with and Red Rising in general is I'm more intrigued at the end of the second book than I was at the end of Hunger Games, which I enjoyed, 66% of. And I feel like despite my misgivings and despite the fact that it took me a long time to get into the second book, I feel like I'm looking forward to seeing how this all turns out. And I honestly think that the answer to your question in the beginning, which was how in the hell does this become one of the most popular series of all time? I think the answer is probably in the third book.
We'll find out.
We'll find. Well, that's the question. Are we going to find out? Because after that review, I don't know if you want to read the third book.
No, I'll read the third book. Right now. I'll read the third book. They're quick, and I'm curious enough to read the third book. All my reading lately is for stuff I have to read. It's getting kind of funny. Like, I keep getting interviews with people or something where I'm like, I should read your book before we talk, and then I end up reading the book. So that's all my reading now is who am I talking to and what's scheduled, and which is not bad. It's just kind of funny. No, I want to read the next book. I want to know what happens because that's the other thing. I 100%. I don't feel it's not incredibly shocking, but it's also not like, oh, I knew it was going to happen. Like I knew every detail. Like I didn't.
Right.
Right. Like I was definitely like not expecting all the turns and twists to happen the way they did. I wasn't like 3 steps ahead of the book at all. You know, like
I would imagine for you that might be a problem with several books.
that they're too predictable.
Yeah, because you're a smart guy and you're a storyteller, so you know you're looking for it.
Being a writer makes it harder, right? Because you sort of notice, like, why is this character there? I used to not notice, like, oh, there's a cool character. Right. Now you're like, why are they there? Like, oh, they have to be the love interest, and then they end up being the love interest, and all. One of my family's like, how did you know? And I'm like, because that's the only reason they're there. Like, it had to be. Yeah, that makes it harder. But I thought there were plenty of surprises. There were enough surprises in this book to keep me going. And there were a couple of very clever things, but not enough to make me happy. The very clever thing was Darrow looping Lauren into the rebellion.
Yeah.
Or into the fight. That was nicely done. I knew there'd be an ambush if I got here. So me predicting the ambush, they're going to think you told me. So now you're in it. And I'm like, that's a nice piece of maneuvering. Mm-hmm. That was good. You know, like I'll buy that. That seems very clever. I need more of those.
Right. Well, the other thing that I'll say about him is that his prose is good. It's easy to read. However, every once in a while, he goes completely mental and starts giving you these half sentences and just, give you a one word with a period at the end of it. Right. And he'll give you this paragraph of kind of that I just love. Right. Because it's this big risk and it's not about the writing at all, except that it is, because all he's doing is conveying the emotion of that moment. Yeah. And I love it when authors do that because it is a big risk. And I kind of honor the risk because it's just like, you've given me this paragraph that was just like getting punched in the face several times. And I really appreciate that because now I feel like the character does.
Yeah.
And I love it when they go grammatically incorrect. That's one of my favorite things that there is. It's just like, you're very much doing this on purpose and a thank you.
I do that a lot in action scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. To modulate tempo, shorter sentences, yeah. That's definitely a trick in action.
Oh yeah.
It's a good trick.
Well, I think anybody who tried to write action probably started off with trying to describe all of the action. And it's just, right? Didn't you start off that way?
I've read,
and then this happens, and this happens over here. This
and
is
his left knee bent, and his left ankle flexed, and then you're in trouble when you read an action scene and it's all big paragraphs of text. Mm-hmm. And you're like, no, but don't do that, don't do that.
I have blown it.
Yeah, I've read books like it isn't not the worst thing, but it's not good.
Oh yeah. Well, and when you see it in your own stuff, it's like, oops.
Yeah.
Cut.
Yeah. That was one of the first pieces of writing advice I remember hearing really early in my writing career. Like really, I don't know where I got that from. I have no idea.
Action?
Yeah, like shorter sentences to when the faster paced things are happening, use shorter paragraphs and sentences, make it punchier. When you want to like a slow thing, make longer paragraphs. Like just, your book should never, you can look, to me, you should be able to flip through the book and not read any of the words and kind of have a sense for what's going on.
Right.
Right. And that's, I think a lot about how my books look on the page.
Oh yeah.
Like if you hold it at arm's length and don't really read the words, but still how
is this broken up? How
visually. And it's funny because I don't think about the audio, right? And other authors do, and I'm sure you get a different effect from really thinking about how it sounds.
That's the actor's job, right? I mean, an actor ought to be able to take something that's a bulk paragraph that's 2 pages long and keep you engaged throughout that as well as he does or she does during the short and choppy.
Yeah. My narrator has left the business.
Right, I know.
So I'm like,
look, I honestly, I'm happy about it because it's just one more thing that you can make a break from, right? You're still at the point where you're slavish to what was with the first book and trying to make everything be the same way. And you and I both know that you're going to be writing for 20 years, right? There's no way you're going to keep the same cover artist, the same audiobook performer, and the same.
I'm going to use a different cover artist for book 6, almost definitely. Yeah, I'm going to have to.
It's you're ready, and 5 is where the pivot happens. So, end Act 1.
Yeah. It'll be a thing. It's all good. Just a lot, and I'm moving, so everything's happening.
Are you done with the move? I mean, you're in contract. You're past the hump.
We're in contract, but all the stuff is still here.
Okay, when's the stuff get moved?
Like in a month, hopefully. Hopefully, end of June.
The end of June, you will be 100% in the new house.
That's the plan. Assuming everything goes right with the buyer's mortgage and everything. I should have one more month but I still have to buy like get the furniture assembled in the new house. All the crap. It's not really super stressful. It's just a lot of stuff.
It's just a lot of stuff, especially once the sale is done. And if you've settled the inspection, the sale's done.
I think so.
There are a few mortgages that fall through.
Yeah. No, I think so. They're pre-approved, so it should be all right. So I don't know. I'm not super worried about it. It's just like stuff.
Yeah, but you have been going through this almost the entire time I've known you, right?
Yeah.
You bought the house
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Almost 2 years ago. Yeah. And it's been nuts, which I don't recommend, but it'll be worth it in the end.
You don't want other people to adopt 2 mortgages in New York?
It's yeah, and just I'm tired of living in 3 places. I'm tired of living in 2 places. I actually really hate it. It's like, where's my toothbrush, or where's this? I'm like, I don't know, which of the. Anyway, it's fine. I'm just being whiny. I'm having a whiny week. I'm sorry. All right. So
you had to move into his dream.
I know. It's terrible. So are you
at the point where you feel? Are you still? Oh, watch this. Do you still at the point where you're honoring and respecting the new house? Like, do you get joy when you wake up there and you look out the window and you see where you are? Or are you starting to take it for granted already?
No. Every time I go there, I walk outside the front door and I look at the river and I'm just like. Almost emotional.
Yeah.
I'm still there.
Good.
Yeah.
Stay there.
Yeah, I'm trying,
Because you worked so hard for so long to make that happen. And then when it finally happened, it was just like, oh. And then, but it wasn't complete, right? It's never been.
That's the weird part. You buy the house, but you don't move in for 2 years. And it's like, oh, I have the house, but we're not there. And
we're not actually there.
There's no bed there, We're getting the bed hopefully next week. It's all good. It's all good stuff. Sorry. Anyway,
sorry.
How are you up for the 3rd book? You didn't love the first half of Golden Sun, but you seem to enjoy the second half more. You weren't loving Roke's betrayal.
I don't have any feelings about the Roke betrayal other than why is he telegraphing it so hard? Unless he's planning on making me think that Roke's going to betray him, because he telegraphed it 3 times, and the 3rd time he did it, it was pretty heavy, and
maybe Roke's on his side. Maybe Roke paralyzed him but didn't kill him, and they're going to be captured, and then Roke is going to end up helping him, and that'll be the beginning of. Because you're thinking maybe Mustang will come to the rescue. Maybe Roke will.
Well, no, I honestly feel like you've got a trifecta, right? You need a trifecta, and Pierce Brown loves introducing an additional 146 characters to the trifecta, but I think the trifecta has to be Darrow, Mustang, and
Several.
I feel like that's where all the investment is. I feel like Roke's this, guy who was supposed to be the wizard, who, just was never going to accept him when he knew what he really was. But we'll see. I have no idea. I know that the whole Hail Reaper thing gets used way too much for what I've read so far. So that's what I'm kind of looking forward to in the third book, is a lot of Hail Reaper, right? I'm looking forward to a lot of Darrow coming into his own. And, it's so funny that you get to the end of books like this, and it's like he's captured and he's paralyzed and they're going to kill him. And there's no question in your mind that the third book is not going to go that way at all. There's not one moment, right? Here we go. Hail Reaper, hail liberty. Sorry, libertas. We got to use the Latin. But right, that Donna and everyone else like Donna uses Hail Reaper so much that third book has to be Hail Reaper across the board, right?
Yeah, I guess as bad as things are, you don't really doubt that he's going to win out. You at most doubt, I'm not 100%. Like, you don't know how many of his friends are going to die along the way.
There we go.
I guess there's the risk.
Yeah.
We may lose Roke. We lost, what's her name, who got her head bashed in. Who else will betray Darrow? What was the loss? Someone probably feels like Tactus was a loss. Tactus, is that his name?
Donna was one of the people that felt like Tactus deserved a chance to be one of Darrow's inner circle. And I was like, I feel like he got the chance and chose against it.
Yeah, but then they tried to make us feel like it was a law, or Pierce Brown did, by telling us, oh, but he was practicing the violin for you, and he really felt bad about what happened. Like, you're trying to feel like that's a loss to Darrow. And whether you thought it was deserved or not on Tactus's part, like, those are the stakes. You don't really think like Darrow might lose, but there are some stakes.
What are you going to lose along the way?
And in a way,
and Zinn has summed it up for all of us. The real Red Rising was the friends that we made.
In a way, maybe if you had my vision of Darrow, what Darrow should have been, which is a more cold-hearted bastard who's going to commit to the cause and overthrow the government and free the people, and not care as much about, then in a way his stakes are lower. Because if his friends die along the way, they're not really his friends, they're his tools.
Well, hang on. Look, we've kind of established maybe that to Pierce Brown, the drumbeat that he's trying to hit is the friendships, right? Mm-hmm. The most surprising thing about Red Rising was that he went into the Institute expecting everybody to be a complete jerk, and what he found were human beings. And to me, that was one of the best surprising parts, is kind of the conflict within him and actually making friends with these people who are his sworn enemies. So I feel like he's done a lot of groundwork building these friendships to be important. And you're in a position where you're saying, hey, I'm not really questioning whether or not Darrow wins. I'm questioning who he loses along the way. So those and all of those relationships are golds, right? Except for one blue and one obsidian. Okay, but everybody else is a gold. So I feel like that's the game that he's playing, is getting you to be invested in these people who are your natural enemies. He's kind of doing the opposite of, what was it? Battlestar Galactica, right? Where we take our enemy and we dehumanize them, right? And Battlestar was a kind of a big example of that. And I feel like he's doing the same kind of thing in a different way, where he's humanized the enemy throughout, from the beginning of the book, from the end of part one. No, part two in the first book is where halfway through the first book is where he went into the Institute. And that's where they started becoming human. I feel like that's what I feel like that's part of the drumbeat that he's beating, is the inability to dehumanize your enemies, which I think is worthwhile. Say no.
No, I get it. It's not a bad story. No, I don't like it for the same reasons I don't hate it. It's not my preference because his cause is too important.
Okay.
His cause is too important for him to really care about his friends. His cause matters more than that, because book one taught me that the society they're in is that bad. And it needs revolution that much that I'm still dissatisfied by anything that detracts from that mission seems to me a mistake.
Okay.
But it narratively it might have been the right choice.
Well, and I also feel like, again, I feel like both of us are probably going to walk out of book 3 fairly satisfied from two fairly different perspectives, right? I'm hoping, right? But I feel like it has the opportunity to give us both our emotional hit at the end, kind of from two different sides.
Do you hope he ends up with Mustang or not?
Ooh, see.
I want him to free the Golds and lose her forever. I want her to have betrayed him and not be okay with his revolution. And I want them to never be together again.
Because you don't like her? Because she's
I like her a ton.
Okay.
But she's loyal to her family, which is totally respectable and totally reasonable and totally fine. Like, I have nothing against a person like that. But I want him to pay the price for this revolution. And what else has he got to lose? His wife already died, right? He paid that price already. That was just a price that right? But if he's going to win, if he's going to change the world, he's got to earn it. And he's got to lose her, and maybe Ragnar dies.
Oh, I think Ragnar's got to die. Come on. You can't have Ragnar at the end being happy, raising children.
You can't if Severo dies. It has to be Ragnar or Severo have to die.
Oh, yeah. But I think
if Severo dies, we can save Ragnar.
Yeah. So my answer, my unfortunate answer to your question is, wait, anybody want to see my quick impression of Joe? Watch, here it goes. There we go. So my problem with Mustang is your problem with the book, which was you don't feel like we got enough time. I have never felt like we got enough time with Mustang. It's always been part of something else. And I don't really have a feel for her, right? I know his feelings about her. I know that she's very smart, but I don't have an emotional connection to Mustang. I wish I did. Fair. I recognize that Darrow does, but as far as what happens to her only matters to me in terms of what happens to her and its relationship to him.
Yeah, I don't know that I care about Mustang. I just care that I want Darrow not to have her. But Darrow wants her.
Right.
But to me, it's more about, for me, that desire on my part is more about Darrow than about Mustang.
Right. You want Darrow to give up something.
I want him to pay a price for this. Something. Because I feel like he needs to. It's too big a change for him to just get out of it unscathed. And Roke, like having Roke betray him, that's not enough of a price. Losing Mustang's a price.
No. Yeah, losing Mustang's a price. And in all honesty, I don't think you can kill Severo, because Severo, in all honesty, is the comic relief, and it's very difficult to kill the comic relief without blowing the rest of the book.
It would have to be like the end.
Yeah.
Like Severo dies in the climactic battle, saving
Well, and if I'm Pierce Brown and I know I want to move this series forward with another set of characters, I would keep Severo alive so Severo could be the one who drops in every once in a while, makes a couple jokes, tells everybody what to do, and leaves.
Well, Severo's probably the best character in the series.
Yeah.
Or Ragnar. Now I'm having trouble deciding.
I'm Severo all the way. I like Ragnar a lot, but I see him as the there's the noble servant, right?
Yeah.
In Blackjack, it's the Minotaur, right?
Yeah.
It's Oberon. It's the guy who's going to follow you into hell, and that guy almost has to die in the end because that's his job.
That's his job.
Right? I mean, it is the only way that you can fulfill their arc is in that kind of final protector role.
Yeah,
and I feel like Ragnar has to die gloriously in battle, right? And you gotta get the Pax Telemachus thing in the after him. Like everybody honors him and everybody loves him. You know, just because you had a big fat guy on the battlefield, you're yelling his name. You know.
Yeah. Get a statue of Ragnar straddling the Colossus of Rhodes. You know,
straddling the gates, standing over the city.
Yeah. Like 100-foot tall Ragnar,
Titan of Bravos.
Yeah. So you suspect Mustang didn't really betray Darrow, and she's going to come to the rescue in book 3.
I feel like she's the out. Yeah, she's got to make a decision. Somebody's got to come and bail him out, and maybe it's Severo. Severo would be the logical choice, but for some reason, I feel like it's going to be Mustang. Because you never got her reaction. You know, it was just like, I'm going to tell you what I really am. Okay, bye. And she takes off. And you don't really know what she does for the rest of the book. So, like, didn't
she confront him in the tunnels and, like, almost shoot him? Am I remembering that wrong?
Looking at my notes. No, there was something with her, but it was really fast.
It was fast.
Yeah, it felt like a quick touch base and off we go. Like it didn't feel like anything moved forward with it.
Yeah, while he's walking back to the ship, Mustang confronts him in a dark cave. She knew she was being tracked. She's upset. She feels her only option is to kill Darrow, who will only bring destruction to her house and color. He says, go ahead and kill him because if she can't change, no gold can. Then Ragnar shows up.
Yeah.
And he threatens to kill Mustang. She's ready for a fight. And he says, let her go.
Right.
And I lost my tab with our conversation. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm on like one of the Red Rising fan wikis.
No, that's perfect. That's what I need. Donna's saying yes. Yeah, to me, I got to be honest with you, man. To me, not having a particular emotional investment in Mustang, that walking into that conversation, it never felt like it was going to be anything, and it wasn't, right? It was just like the author's opportunity to drop this character back in, remind you of what was going on there, and then split them apart. You know, I'm surprised they didn't have a cave-in that separated the two of them.
And explain that why she's on the loose and Severo doesn't know where she is, because she found the tracker, disabled it somehow, and is on the loose. So she could be anywhere, and you can bring her back later to do anything.
Because that was my reaction. The moment that scene started, I was like, well, this is going nowhere.
Really?
Yeah.
I
going anywhere.
I thought it was. I thought they were going to sort of... I actually thought she was going to say it was all fine. I thought it was going to give it... Which would have been cheap. It would have been a cheap move. But that's what I thought was going to happen because I had low expectations, I guess. I don't know. But I'm glad it didn't.
I mean, I'm assuming what we're going to get in the third book is a repeat beat from the beginning of the first book. And Darrow is going to be on the execution block, and Mustang is going to be the one that comes in and actually rescues him where he was unable to rescue his wife. I will make you a $10 bet. We'll make it more interesting. I will bet you a bottle of Jameson. How about that? I'll bet you a bottle of Jameson that Mustang rescues him in part 1 or 2 of the final book.
I think Ragnar and a bunch of low colors rescue him.
That's a good bet.
I think Ragnar and a bunch of low colors rescue him.
Meanwhile, Donna's sitting behind her screen going,
I know. I mean, it's not. I didn't like. I literally I don't even know the name of the third book. Like I've not read like a synopsis or like the blurb in the back. I don't even know what it's called. So I'm really
you don't
yeah.
read trilogies all that often, though, right?
No.
Because I feel with trilogies, I don't care.
Morningstar.
Yeah, I don't care what the name of the book is. I'm certainly not reading the blurb on the back. I don't want some idiot marketer trying to tell me
why
I should read this book when I already made the decision to read this book when I like the first one.
For Hybrid Helix 5, I almost want to put that as the blurb. Like if you've read the first 4, you know if you want to read this one or not.
Right.
And if you haven't, you should read those first. Well, just write that in the Amazon description. That's it.
Seriously.
Right?
There is nothing we can do to sell you on this book. You shouldn't read it if you haven't read the other ones. And if you don't like the other ones, you shouldn't read it.
Like I can tell you there are cat people in it. Is that going to matter? No, because if you hated book 4, you don't want to read about these cat people. And if you love book 4, you want to read it whether or not there are cat people.
Don't care about the cat people. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Now, am I an idiot? It's entirely possible, and I think so every day. Is Iron Gold, is this not a trilogy? Is this 4 books?
I think there's a sequel trilogy, isn't there?
Iron Gold, the beginning of a new thing. Oh, I'm looking at J.C.M. Burns' Partial Function. That's the tab I'm on.
I don't know. No, I think, well, actually, someone will tell us.
Yeah, Iron Gold is the first of a tetralogy, which continues the story of the Red Rising trilogy. Okay, so if you liked these books, continue reading in the Iron Gold series. So we'll be done. They're going to be 7, and the last book is next year. So we're going to find out everything that we need to know at the end of the 3rd book, and we'll have completed the original story. So
I think the end of 3 is where we should have a discussion if we want to move on or not.
Oh, I'm willing to say right now that we won't be, because I've signed up for the trilogy. I'm not.
Fair enough.
Dude, I gotta love something to go,
7 books.
Yeah, 7 books deep.
I'm slightly compulsive, so I might end up reading them just for completion, which is not rational. But I have so many other series to finish actually before that maybe I just won't.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying about feeling like you're in a position where you need to read somebody's books before you talk to them.
Oh yeah.
But I also kind of got past it because I read slower than you. And if I want to read anything that's going to feed me, creatively, there's no chance that I'm able to read every indie. Like, I know the indie authors that I like. I'm willing to explore the first 100 pages of several more. But, when you've got another book out, I'm going to read whatever, the 3rd book in the Hybrid Helix series, right? Because I enjoy the work and I have a good time. But if I don't really have a good time while I'm there, I'm not reading something out of responsibility. Yeah. No, I think I may end up doing the same thing. I was much more of a completist, I realized, when I was younger. There was just less stuff. Well, like at a certain point, you've got to read stuff that feeds you as a writer.
Yeah.
Right? And to me, that's not always sci-fi fantasy, right? I've got other books that have different writing styles where there's gold to be mined out of there, where you're like, somebody does something cool and different, and you're like, well, I've never seen that in a fantasy book. Okay, let's play that game for a little bit.
I find I get fed by watching like shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like films and TV shows.
Oh my gosh, we're so far over. But speaking of which, I want to ask you, would you be willing to have a conversation on Umbrella Academy at some point? just because of what you said in that Twitter post. I think I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about Umbrella Academy in general, and maybe we can.
Have you seen it?
Oh, couple times.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll talk Umbrella Academy.
Okay, and maybe grab a couple other people who engaged in that post, and do a little.
You mean like after season 4 comes out? Because it's season 4 I was tweeting about.
Well, what I kind of want to do is do a discussion about seasons 1 through 3, and then talk about season 4 a little bit, and just talk about what we like about the series and kind of compare notes. Because I have a lot of feelings about that series. If for no other reason than I do not do well with stories of dysfunctional families where they all hate each other, right? It gets very dark and very cynical very quickly, and I just wind up feeling really uncomfortable. Whereas the Umbrella Academy took all of those elements of a dysfunctional family and made them comic. To me, that is the number one success of the show, is that they made it funny. And I just think that knocked it out of the park, because you can never get too depressed or never get too caught up in, these relationships can work. Why do these people hate each other so much, right? The Klaus shows up and does something stupid, and it's just like, okay, we're back to funny again.
The thing is, to me, that show had reached tremendous heights and also had like tremendous flaws.
Oh, sure.
But like big flaws, but it had some wonderful stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and the good outweighed the bad.
Oh yeah. No, I think so. I still don't want to see them without powers, but I'll watch the 4th season. Don't get me wrong. I'll see it.
Okay. So we'll have a conversation about Umbrella.
Yeah. No, it sounds great.
Because I'm screwed with the book release until the end of July, and then I can start, thinking about reading the next book in the series and do Morningstar and kind of get that on the list and go from there.
Perfect. That sounds great. That sounds great.
And, I just want an excuse to talk to you, so I'll just make up an excuse. So it's Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
Right. And real quick before we go, what are you working on now?
Still churning away on the Grim Dwarf, at least for a little bit. Got the first compilation coming out probably in the next month or end of June, beginning of July, for the first 25 chapters in a big ebook. And Hybrid Helix 5 needs final couple passes.
And are you going to release in July?
The Grim Dwarf?
No. Hybrid Helix 5.
It depends on when the cover comes.
Okay.
So he said he can get the cover to me maybe June or July. So basically, once I get the cover, I'll probably release it 2-3 weeks later.
August.
I'm not going to wait a ton. I'm probably going to give out e-arcs before that with a placeholder cover.
Sure.
Just say if you want to read it, this isn't the cover, but you can read the book.
Yeah.
Probably in sometime in June. To anyone who wants, and then the book probably end of July, depending on Chris.
Yeah, let's call it August, because there's many a slip twixt a cup and a lip.
Yeah.
Right? And something's going to go wrong between here and there. So
yeah. So that'll come out, and then I want to get the 6th book out this year, like by the end of the year. So
is your outline done?
The outline is half done.
Okay.
But
once the outline's done, it'll take you 8 weeks to write it.
Possibly, not tremendously longer than that.
Yeah, okay.
That's the ballpark. That's the ballpark time. Maybe 10 weeks.
What's your turnaround time from finishing your draft and going through 2 rounds of line edits and 1 round of proofreading? What's your time frame for that?
Well, my editor takes a month to do the line edits.
Okay.
Like 3 to 4 weeks. She gives me a date. She's, like I said, my editor is
Sarah Jorn.
Well, no. I don't use Sarah for the Hybrid Helix. I have someone who no one has heard of in the community.
It's another person.
Laura Donovan. I don't think anyone else uses her that I know of. I found her off an ad, but she's fantastic. I think she works for me.
Yeah.
Like she line edits, like her line edits work. Like I look at her edits and I'm like, this is what I should have written the first time.
Yeah.
Almost every time. And she doesn't mess with my dialogue, or I don't want it to be messed with, because editors tend to do that.
Yeah.
They tend to fix the grammar in my dialogue, and I'm like, no, it doesn't sound right anymore.
I had that whole conversation with Dom.
Yeah.
Like if it looks like a mistake, leave it in.
Yeah. If it's in quotes, leave it in.
Leave it in.
So no, my line editor, but she's on the show, so she's like clockwork. Like if she says it'll be done in 3 weeks, it's usually a little under 3 weeks, but it's never longer.
Mm-hmm.
So and then once she gets it to me, it's about finding the energy to actually sit down and plow through it, which is usually just a week or two.
Yeah.
The last few books, I've had very little I needed to change after the first draft. Like no big changes needed to be made. The last, like Blood Reunion and forward, I didn't have to add like a chapter or a scene. The only thing I have to do is when beta readers come back, I've got to tweak lines. Like I don't understand why this person was angry, and I'm like, oh, they didn't say.
Yeah.
I got to add a line where they say, and then it's like, oh, then it makes sense. Stuff like that.
That's my favorite note. I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Let me fix that for you.
Yeah. Or this person changed too quickly. Like this person was inconsistent in their behavior, and I'm like, oh, there's a reason they weren't consistent. I just clearly didn't state it, right? So you didn't know. That's fair, but then that's a line.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot to hold up the sign. Hang on. Here's your sign. Oh.
I have this whole character suffering from oxygen poisoning for half the book, so she's loopy, right? And it makes sense because of where she's from. She's from a high gravity planet, right? But I didn't actually say it. People are like, why is she acting so loopy? And I'm like, oh, I forgot to mention.
Yeah, because I know. Why don't you know?
Yeah. But those are great because you get this whole thing. It just didn't really work for me, and you're like, oh, I can fix that in one sentence.
I can fix that right now. Yeah,
So,
that's my favorite note. I didn't understand. You bet. I will fix that. That's easy.
So that's the plan.
Thanks,
all right, man. Thank you. Thanks for hosting.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. We will see you in a little bit. And buy Joe's books. See